On the 13th of February 2018, Kingdom Come Deliverance released on PC, Xbox One, and PS4. This was a big release for Warhorse Studios. This was their first ever game that they had put out. And while some people who work at Warhorse Studios, like Daniel Vavra himself, have worked on games like Mafia before, this was a pretty big project. Unfortunately, Kingdom Come Deliverance did release with some bugs and performance issues, to the point where the unofficial marketing was, "It's not a bug, it's a feature." Okay, that's a lie, I made that up. But Kingdom Come Deliverance pushed on through and got a positive rating on Steam, to the point where it's now sat at very positive with over 52,000 reviews. Unfortunately, this game did not run well on base consoles at the time, and that is still something that persists, and I will be getting to that in this video. But you know the history of Kingdom Come Deliverance at this point. I have made a Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 year later video, and I've made a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 year later video. Those looked at the past of Kingdom Come Deliverance, its development, and its rise into what it became. Today, I want to look at the future. We're at the point now, 3 years after release, where it's very likely that we're going to be getting some information on something coming soon this year. By the time I make Kingdom Come Deliverance 4 years later, there's probably been an announcement for a sequel. So let's use this time to talk about what is going to be happening in the future. I'm gonna say right now, I know literally nothing, but I have some ideas. I want to focus first on Warhorse Studios themselves. Warhorse Studios were founded in July of 2011 by Daniel Vavra, who was formerly a writer and game designer of 2K Czech and worked on Mafia 1 and 2. And also, they were formerly a producer of Bohemia Interactive, who made the Arma games, which I did not know until this very day. Joining them were Martin Klima and Martin Frejestolski. Yes, I got that right. Warhorse Studios is something I would have never expected from a small studio. I'd never heard of Warhorse Studios before the release of Kingdom Come Deliverance. And that is support and community interaction. They have done a fantastic job, and they are still working with the community to this very day with Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I want to talk about that briefly because I think it's something that is incredibly important. Most games are released, given a day one patch, and then that's really it. Now this of course is different if a game comes out in early access, where they will have a load of support over the next couple of years, but generally a finished game will come out and that will be it. Warhorse Studios completely broke that trend, and it's something that I was really excited to see and something that I loved over that first 2 years of this game being released. From multiple patches, which I did multiple videos on, I loved doing those patch note update videos, to the DLCs, like From the Ashes and A Woman's Lot, which adds so much content into the game. This was absolutely fantastic. Each DLC felt different, and I wanted to talk about that briefly right now because I get asked all the time, are the DLCs in Kingdom Come Deliverance worth it? Yes. Yes, they are. Well, From the Ashes and A Woman's Lot definitely are. Band of Bastards I'm not as big on, and also The Amorous Adventures of the Bolder Hands I'm also not great on, but it does add more Hans Capon, and more Luke Dale is always a good thing. The Royal Edition of Kingdom Come Deliverance is now always on sale. You can find this on PlayStation recently. I bought it for £12. And right now there is a Steam sale, and it's only £17 for everything. You get all the DLC, you get the entire game. I think that's incredibly worth it for everything you're getting. So for those of you asking about the DLC, yes, I highly recommend it. Not only does it add in a lot more content, especially with the Woman's Lot DLC, which goes into the background of the game from a different perspective, but also adds a whole new quest line with Henry, but also of course From the Ashes that lets you build your own town and run it and kind of have a say on where things go and what happens to certain people. I will always remember building Biscuit Town in that series and absolutely adoring that DLC. A lot has happened to Warhorse Studios since the release in 2018. Probably the biggest thing was in February of 2019. The company was bought by Koch Media for 42.8 million euros, which is insane. And it became a studio for Deep Silver, which is also under Koch Media. Currently they're sat at 131 employees, which is a lot for a company that's supposedly doing nothing. I just want to point that out. We've asked multiple times for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and they keep telling me there's no Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what is possibly happening with the sequel for Kingdom Come Deliverance. Because this is a thing I've been talking about and have been asked multiple. If I had $1, right, for every time I've been asked, where's Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I'd be a bloody millionaire. I know I said this video is looking at the future, but I want to quickly go back to the past. And that is to the Kickstarter page that started it all. And this was made all the way back in 2014. There's something quite interesting here, and that is said, planned platforms PC, Xbox One, PS4, Mac and Linux, release date Q4 of 2015, which I think is absolutely crazy. So they were intending for this game to be out by 2015, which of course it didn't happen, and I'm glad it didn't happen. It gave them way more time to actually develop it. And the most important thing here, approximate gameplay time, 30 hours, Act 1, 70 plus hours, all 3 acts. Now, I can't find a source for this, but this has been talked about over the last couple of years, that they ended up combining 2 of the acts into 1, which is what we got in Kingdom Come Deliverance. But either way, that still leaves an entire act that hasn't been seen. So there is definitely a sequel coming. That is not a question at this point. Looking back on it, Koch Media bought out Warhorse Studios for 42.8 million euros. They wouldn't have done that if there was no hope of a sequel. In 2020, Kingdom Come Deliverance had sold 3 million units, and that's probably near 4 by this point. I'm gonna say it now, you'd be an idiot if you didn't make a sequel to this game. Especially after leaving it on a cliffhanger. Now, I wanted to quickly talk about why I believe Warhorse Studios hasn't announced this right now, and I really do believe it's because of Koch Media. They are now owned by a company. They are under the umbrella of a big corporation, and that corporation, being Koch Media, probably has the say on when they can mention stuff. Do I think that's the right decision by Koch Media? No, I really don't, and I love Koch Media. I've worked with them on a few different things, but I really believe that they should be allowing Warhorse to be able to at least tease every now and again something. If I was working as a PR person for Koch/Warhorse Studios, I would be, putting up the odd picture every now and again that had a little teaser in it, or maybe posting something about a certain location that wasn't in Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's all about keeping that hype and anticipation growing, and that is incredibly important in something that I think right now they're lacking. Now, they're probably going to see this video, and I just want to say right now, I have nothing against anyone who works at either companies. I love each and every single one of you. You have been fantastic to me. And I'm just some idiot on the internet making YouTube videos. I'm completely aware of that. But having been a part of this community now for 3 years, I want to say right now, I want to stand up for us, the community, the Kingdom Come Deliverance fans, and say, I think we're ready. I think we're ready to hear something. Even if it's just a loose release date, even if it's just a small teaser of Henry's face, it doesn't really matter. The only thing I'm worried about is the community dropping off and losing interest, and then them announcing the game. Because by that time, you've lost that audience that was anticipating it. You want to hold on to your fans as tightly as possible, and I think apart from that, Warhorse Studios has done fantastic work with their community. This is the best community I've seen in gaming. It's absolutely amazing. To think I started Sexy Biscuit 3 years ago and made this channel about Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I'm still making Kingdom Come Deliverance content after all these years, goes to show how much love I have for this game and how much love the studio has given me. And I want to mention this because I find this really, really important. In 2018, I created Sexy Biscuit, and it became a Kingdom Come Deliverance channel, looking at all the updates that were coming out for the game, patches and everything else. And the channel blew up. This was in part because of Warhorse Studios and their fantastic support for me. They shared videos all the time. They were talking to me on Twitter. They followed me. They were sharing my work to people who would have never have seen it otherwise. And I want to say a massive thank you to them. They believed in me when I was making my silly videos, and I'm forever grateful of that. What other company will send you cheesecake on your bloody birthday during a live stream? No one that I know of, but Warhorse Studios bloody well did, and that is absolutely incredible. That's mad. Let's talk about disappointments. This is something that I haven't really delved into before because I don't have many disappointments with Kingdom Come Deliverance, apart from the performance when I started, because, Jesus. Let's talk about the base consoles. Let's talk about what's happening with PS5 and Xbox Series X. There are no planned updates for these consoles, and I think that is a really unwise decision. Kingdom Come Deliverance on the base original Xbox One is not great. Let's be honest, it's not fantastic. From really, really bad popping to loading times and a lot of other issues, the game isn't amazing. PS4 fared slightly better, I will say, but playing this game on an original Xbox One is not a fun experience. And he's saying that Xbox One X and PS4 Pro definitely helped. They had faster graphics cards inside them, but the CPUs were still exactly the same. And I think Kingdom Come Deliverance is very CPU heavy. So no matter what you do, if you add more graphical power, fair enough, the game's going to run a little bit better, but it's all down to that CPU. And in theory, that has now been fixed by the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. Those consoles are miles ahead of the original Xbox One and PS4. The CPUs are now more than powerful enough to be able to run this game at 60, and I think that you could probably end up bumping all the graphics up to ultra or at least high in most cases, but unfortunately Warhorse Studios hasn't seemed interested in doing that. Now for that to happen, Warhorse Studios themselves will need to make a patch that will go out and unlock that ability, because right now Kingdom Come Deliverance runs great on Xbox Series X and PS5. I've done videos on them. They run fantastically at 30. And with the same texture quality that the original Xbox One had. They run smooth, yes, they run smooth. There are no dips. There are the pop-ins slightly better due to the faster hard drives. There's some stuff in there that is better, but what Warhorse need to do is release a patch that unlocks this game on the current hardware. Now what would that do? It would bump up the game to 60 FPS, which would be sublime, but also they could bump up the graphical detail. And right now, there are no plans that we have seen that this is going to become a thing. I've been told before that they'd have to go through Koch Media to be able to release something like this, because this is in theory a patch that would be released to the Xbox Series X and PS5. They'd have to go through Sony and Microsoft, but before that they'd have to go through Koch Media to get the okay. Please do this. You're having this game on sale constantly on PS5 and on the Xbox Series X. People are going to be buying this game and then being disappointed by the fact it still runs at 30 on these new fantastical pieces of hardware, and that is a big disappointment. If you're watching this, Koch Media and Warhorse Studios, please allow this to happen. I don't think this would be much of an issue to do. You have 131 employees currently at Warhorse Studios, maybe more now. For a small amount of work, I think that this would benefit you greatly. And I think this leads on to what I want from a sequel, which is 60 FPS, obviously. I don't care if the game's 4K, to be honest. I just want a beautiful open world that runs at 60 and has the amount of detail that Kingdom Come Deliverance did. The fact that Kingdom Come Deliverance ran on the base consoles to begin with was mind-blowing, and I can't wait to see what they're able to do with a future game. We've already talked about the fact that this is going to be running on the newest CryEngine. It's not going to be running on an old engine like it was on release, and that's positive. They have learned how to use CryEngine. They had to build that engine from the ground up to get it to work with the RPG elements to begin with, and now they've learned all of the little intricacies of that engine. I can't wait to see what they can do with more powerful hardware that they now have access to. One thing I definitely think that needs improvement are the NPCs, in terms of interaction at least. Sure, when you walk into a town, you'll have some people say, "Oh, Henry's come to see us," but really apart from that, there's not much interaction. Sure, you can jab someone in the face with a sword, but they can't talk to you. And if you can talk to someone, it's only really ever the people who are currently in Ratai, and you can ask them about Skalitz and all that, but that's really it. I would love a system that's similar to something like Red Dead Redemption 2, where you can literally look at someone and press a positive or negative button, and then you will have them react realistically. Let's say I walk up to a bartender and greet him rudely. What's he going to do? I don't know. He may throw beer in my face. I'm not sure. The possibilities are endless and probably quite difficult to program, but I think it would be kind of interesting if we had a little bit more interaction with those NPCs. Let's talk about combat. Combat, I think, in Kingdom Come Deliverance was great. It was a little bit sticky at times, and you would kind of get stuck to one character, especially when you're being surrounded by 3. And that was a bit of an issue. I think if you were fighting more than 2 people, generally, it would become an issue. I loved the combat in KCD. I think it was a lot of fun. It's the best version of that combat system I've seen in a game. Games like For Honor have also done that similar combat style. Games like Mordhau have also done it. But I think Kingdom Come Deliverance really nailed that timing for counters and parries. It's something that takes a lot of time to get used to, but once you have the hang of that combat system, it is fantastic. It's amazing. So what I would say is maybe tighten it up a little bit, but also maybe give us the ability to actually take off arms. I'm playing a medieval game where I have a massive ass sword. I want to chop people's heads off. Alas, that is not a feature in Kingdom Come Deliverance, but I'm hoping they can add a feature like that in KCD too. Also, I want to quickly mention bows and arrows. Throw those right in the bin. I don't like them. They're very difficult, okay? I'm awful at them. At least give us a perk to bring up a reticule or something. And probably last thing, story-wise, I want to see more Hans. I want to see more Henry. I want to see more interaction with Teresa and Henry. I think that would be beneficial. Personally, I believe, though, that we're probably going to be staying out of the main games area throughout the next game. I don't think they're going to have both games accessible. I think that would be amazing, though. Being able to travel from the new areas that we're going to be seeing in Kingdom Come 2 to being able to go back to an upgraded version of KCD1, almost like how the Hitman games have been working recently. So let's say you own Hitman 1 and 2, if you buy 3, you're going to get all these graphical upgrades and everything for the first 2 games, and you can play them all in one game. Being able to see Kingdom Come Deliverance with all the upgrades of a future game would be amazing. But I want to hear what you guys want from a sequel. Do I believe it's going to be announced soon? Yes. Do I think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks or days? No. I believe we're probably going to be hearing about this in July, let's say, around the middle of the year, but they could surprise us, I guess. If I was them, I would have announced something today. I would have been like, hey, so you know that project we're working on? It might be Kingdom Come related. That's what I would have done anyway. We know Warhorse Studios is working on a project. They announced that last year. We just don't know what it is. Yep. So it's all in due time, and I think it's down to Koch Media to allow them to be able to say anything. And the last part of this, I wanted to talk about the community and the future of the community. First things first, modding. Unfortunately, modding has kind of slowed down. Modding was never really massive for Kingdom Come Deliverance to begin with. I think it was something that was anticipated from the very beginning. And Warhorse Studios took around 2 years to get the modding tools out, and I think that was a little bit too late. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the amount of mods that we were hoping for, and that kind of sucks. I will say there are some fantastic mods out there. Of course, the saving mod, the No Save Your Schnapps mod is my favourite, but also a reticule when hunting with a bow and arrow. My favourite mod, that one. Also, stuff like Architect, which I think is a fantastic mod. I'm not sure if that's still in development, but from what I saw last time, it was fantastic, allowing you to basically place items into the world realistically, and you could kind of build your own little towns, and that was fantastic. Honestly, I kind of hope that comes to KCD too, because I think that's an absolutely fantastic mod, and I think being able to kind of place items in your towns would be fantastic. They need to build upon the town building from the Ashes, because From the Ashes definitely felt a little bit held back. I think the Architect mod did some things better. And of course the optimized graphical preset mod, which has been updated recently. I've done a new video if you want to go and check out, it's in the link in the description below. The game runs beautifully now. It runs so smooth on whatever hardware you have. It runs beautifully. I always recommend that mod. It's absolutely bloody fantastic. And for those of you who are struggling with performance, it's perfect. And looking a bit further out, we have Kingdomcraft Deliverance, which you're seeing the trailer to right now in the background. They're currently finishing Sasau. They've worked and completed Ratai. They've worked on Skalitz and completed that. This is coming along very nicely. It's going to be a fully multiplayer Kingdom Come Deliverance that takes place in Minecraft, but the world is one-to-one, so you're going to be able to travel to the exact places you saw in Kingdom Come Deliverance, and there are going to be special events that happen. Warhorse is actually involved in some ways with this. Koch Media has shared this. It's becoming a thing. I've been allowed to play a little bit of it. It's freaking good. And if you want to support or join the project, there will be links in the description below for their Discord and their Patreon. So I've got to give a massive shout out to the team who work over there. Of course, Amy as well, who is my girlfriend. Well done. You're amazing. I thought there wasn't going to be much to talk about in this video. I'm going to be completely honest. My Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 year later and 2 years later video, I looked at the past and the history. And of course, in the 2 year later video, I kind of covered the same stuff that I covered in the original video. But this year, there's been barely anything new to talk about with Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is why I wanted to look at the future, because I think that's the most important thing now. And we're going to look back on this video next year, and I'm betting you by then we've had some form of announcement. Maybe the game's even released. We don't know. I want to thank each and every single one of you for sticking with me for 3 years. It's mad to think I'm still here doing Kingdom Come Deliverance content after this long. YouTube has been an absolute roller coaster. I love it. The amount of love and support I've been getting from all of you is unbelievable. It's so lovely, and I cannot thank you enough. And to Warhorse Studios and everyone involved, I just want to say well done for sticking with the game as long as you have been and being one of the best studios in the gaming industry, because you honestly are at this point. I want to hear what you want in KCD2. Comment down below and tell me. But until next time, that's me out. Bye guys.